The year was 1914. Europe was a powder keg of tension, with simmering rivalries and nationalist fervour threatening to erupt. On June 28th, a seemingly insignificant event in the Balkans would set off a chain reaction, plunging the world into the abyss of war. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie were assassinated in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia. The assassin, Gavrilo Princip, was a Serbian nationalist associated with the Black Hand, a secret society advocating for a unified South Slav state. Austria-Hungary, outraged by the act, blamed Serbia and issued an ultimatum with deliberately harsh terms. The intricate web of alliances that had been woven over the preceding decades began to unravel, setting the stage for a continental conflict. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand exposed the fragility of peace in early 20th century Europe. A complex network of alliances forged in the preceding decades transformed a regional crisis into a global conflict. Two main alliances dominated the geopolitical landscape: the Triple Entente, consisting of France, Russia, and Great Britain, and the Central Powers, comprising Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. When Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914, it triggered a chain reaction. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, viewed Russian mobilization as a threat and declared war on Russia on August 1st. Within a week, the major powers of Europe were at war, their fates intertwined by a web of alliances they had themselves created. The summer of 1914 witnessed the rapid escalation of a regional conflict into a full-blown European war. The initial German strategy, the Schlieffen Plan, aimed for a swift victory by knocking France out of the war before Russia could fully mobilize its forces. German troops marched through Belgium, aiming to encircle Paris. However, the plan faltered. The French and British armies mounted a staunch defense, halting the German advance at the First Battle of the Marne in September 1914. The failure of the Schlieffen Plan dashed any hopes for a quick victory and ushered in a new era of warfare, one characterized by static trench lines, unprecedented casualties, and a grueling stalemate. As the Western Front solidified into a labyrinth of trenches, stretching from the North Sea to Switzerland, the war expanded to other fronts. The Western Front became synonymous with trench warfare, a brutal and dehumanizing form of combat that defined the experience of millions of soldiers. Opposing armies faced each other across a desolate landscape of mud, barbed wire, and shell craters. Life in the trenches was a constant struggle for survival. Soldiers endured relentless artillery bombardments, the ever-present threat of sniper fire, and the horrors of poison gas attacks. The psychological toll of this relentless pressure was immense, leading to widespread cases of shell shock, later known as post-traumatic stress disorder. Despite the horrors, camaraderie and a shared sense of purpose provided solace for many soldiers. Letters, poems, and songs sent home offered glimpses into the realities of trench life, capturing the fear, boredom, and longing for home that permeated their existence. Section 5. Battles of attrition: Verdun, the Somme, and Gallipoli. The stalemate on the Western Front led to a series of bloody battles of attrition, each claiming hundreds of thousands of lives for minimal territorial gains. The Battle of Verdun, fought between February and December 1916, epitomized the futility of this type of warfare. Similarly, the Battle of the Somme, launched by the British and French in July 1916, resulted in unprecedented casualties. The Gallipoli campaign, fought in 1915, was another costly and ultimately unsuccessful campaign. Allied forces aiming to capture the Dardanelles Strait and knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war faced fierce resistance from Turkish troops. Section 6. Technological advancements and the horrors of modern warfare. World War I witnessed an unprecedented arms race as nations harnessed technological advancements to gain an advantage on the battlefield. Machine guns, capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute, transformed battlefields into killing fields. Artillery, more powerful and accurate than ever before, rained down shells on enemy positions. obliterating trenches and turning the landscape into a desolate wasteland. Poison gas, first used by the Germans in 1915, added a new dimension of terror to warfare. The introduction of tanks in 1916 marked a turning point in military technology, paving the way for the development of more advanced armored vehicles that would play a decisive role in future conflicts. Section 7. Revolution in Russia. The Tsar falls and a new power emerges. While the war raged on in the trenches of Europe, a revolution was brewing in Russia. The Tsarist regime, already weakened by social unrest and economic inequality, buckled under the strain of war. In February 1917, a series of strikes and demonstrations in Petrograd, the Russian capital, culminated in the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II. The Bolsheviks, a radical socialist faction led by Vladimir Lenin, seized the opportunity to seize power. In October 1917, November in the Gregorian calendar, the Bolsheviks launched a coup d'état, overthrowing the provisional government and establishing the world's first communist state. Section 8. Across the Atlantic, the United States enters the fray. For the first 3 years of the war, the United States remained officially neutral, although it provided economic assistance to the Allied powers. However, a series of events, including the sinking of the Lusitania, a British passenger liner carrying American citizens, by a German U-boat in 1915, and the interception of the Zimmermann telegram, shifted public opinion in favor of intervention. On April 6, 1917, the United States declared war on Germany, citing unrestricted submarine warfare and German aggression as the primary justifications. The entry of the United States into the war proved to be a turning point. The arrival of fresh American troops, along with vast industrial and economic resources, provided a much-needed boost to the Allied war effort. American soldiers, known as doughboys, quickly made their presence felt on the battlefield, participating in key battles such as Belleau Wood, Château-Thierry, and the Meuse-Argonne offensive. Section 9. Armistice and its aftermath. The Treaty of Versailles and a flawed peace. By the fall of 1918, the Central Powers were on the verge of collapse. The German army, exhausted and demoralized, faced relentless Allied offensives on all fronts. On November 11, 1918, Germany signed the armistice agreement with the Allies in a railway carriage in Compiègne, France, bringing an end to the hostilities. The Paris Peace Conference, convened in January 1919, brought together the victorious Allied powers to determine the terms of the peace treaties. The Treaty of Versailles, signed with Germany on June 28, 1919, imposed harsh penalties on Germany, sowing the seeds of resentment and instability that contributed to the rise of extremism and the outbreak of World War II. Section 10. The War to End All Wars. A legacy of loss and unresolved conflicts. World War I, the war to end all wars, as it was naively called, left an indelible mark on the 20th century. The war claimed the lives of an estimated 15 to 22 million people, leaving millions more physically and psychologically scarred. Entire generations were decimated, and the social and economic fabric of Europe lay in ruins. The collapse of the Ottoman, Austro-Hungarian, Russian and German empires created power vacuums that led to the rise of new states and ideologies. The war's legacy continued to cast a long shadow over international relations, serving as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the importance of diplomacy and international cooperation. Section 11. World War I, a turning point in history. World War I stands as a pivotal event in human history, marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new world order. The war shattered the illusion of progress and enlightenment that had characterized the 19th century, ushering in an era of uncertainty, disillusionment, and anxiety. The conflict had a profound impact on art, literature, and music, giving rise to new forms of expression that reflected the horrors of war and the disillusionment of a generation. The war also accelerated technological advancements, leading to the development of new weapons, communication technologies, and medical innovations. The lessons learned from the Great War, both in terms of the human cost of conflict and the importance of addressing the root causes of war, remain as relevant as ever in the 21st century.